on the way.
Drop out of high school and get a meaningless job that makes me feel bad about myself.
I'd like to fall victim to the old boys network.
I don't want anybody to notice me.
I just want to fly under the radar.
I want to splatter against the glass ceiling.
I don't have an opinion.
I want to be a straight C student.
I'm going to be a biomedical engineer. I want to succumb to peer pressure all of my life.
I'm going to be a best-selling author and win the National Book Award.
I'm going to be a marine biologist.
Wait. I take mine back. I'm going to be a biomedical engineer.
I think I'll be the president.
I'm going to be Secretary of State.
World-class chef, right here.
Race car driver.
Artist. Paleontologist.
Film director.
Surgeon. Teacher. Scientist. Olympian.
I'm going to be the boss.
And here is the Writer's Almanac for Friday. It's the 4th of October, 2013. It's the birthday of Brendan Gill, born Hartford, Connecticut, 1914, graduated from Yale, and at the age of 22 was hired by Harold Ross as a staff writer for the New Yorker magazine, where Mr. Gill worked for 61 years. He worked under 4 different editors. Some fiction, but mainly as a critic, books and theater and films, and his column Skyline about the preservation of historic buildings in the city of New York. The year before he died, in 1997, Brendan Gill published Late Bloomers, a book about people who achieved success later in life: Harry Truman, Charles Darwin, Edith Wharton. He was a great champion of architectural preservation, helped to preserve Grand Central Terminal in New York, wrote a biography of Frank Lloyd Wright entitled Many Masks, served on many boards of directors, the Andy Warhol Foundation, the Municipal Arts Society, the American Academy of Arts and Letters. It's the birthday of Damon Runyon, 1884, Manhattan, Kansas, author of the stories about New York street life that went to make up the musical Guys and Dolls. Damon Runyon, who wrote in a vernacular much of which he invented himself out of his own head. It's the birthday of the novelist Anne Rice, born New Orleans, 1941, who, after her 5-year-old daughter died of leukemia, wrote a novel, Interview with a Vampire, about a vampire who's so lonely he turns a 5-year-old girl into a vampire to keep him company. And it's the birthday of the humorist Roy Blount Jr., born 1941 in Indianapolis, grew up in Decatur, Georgia, whose first book was About 3 Bricks Shy of a Load, about the Pittsburgh Steelers. His latest book, Alphabetter Juice, or The Joy of Text. Here's a poem for today by Howard Nemerov, entitled Going Away. Now as the year turns toward its darkness, the car is packed and time come to start driving west. We have lived here for many years and been more or less content. Now we are going away. That is how things happen, and how into new places among other people we shall carry our lives with their peculiar memories, both happy and unhappy, but either way touched with a strange tonality of what is gone but inalienable, the clear and level light of a late afternoon out on the terrace, looking to the mountains, drinking with friends. Voices and laughter lifted in still air, in a light that seemed to paralyze time. We have had kindness here and some unkindness. Now we are going on. Though we are young enough still and militant enough to be resolved, keeping our faces to the front, there is a moment after saying all farewells when we taste the dry and bitter dust of everything that we have said and done for many years, and our mouths are dumb, and the easy tears will not do. Soon the north wind will shake the leaves will fall. It may be never again that we shall see them, the strangers who stand on the steps, smiling and waving before the screen doors of their suddenly forbidden houses. Howard Nemirov's poem Going Away, from his new poems published by University of Chicago Press and used by permission here on the Writer's Almanac, supported by the Poetry Foundation, offering poetry podcasts to listen to and thousands of poems to read at poetryfoundation.org, and by the Mosaic Foundation of Rita and Peter Hayden, based in Ann Arbor, honoring the literary arts and the universe of great ideas. Produced by Joy Biles, with assistance by Teresa Burgess. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.
This is the Composer's Datebook for October 4th. I'm John Zeck. In 1939, Dale Carnegie published a classic self-help book entitled How to Win Friends and Influence People, suggesting it was possible to change people's behavior by changing one's own behavior toward them. We're not sure if Carnegie's book was ever translated into Russian, but I'd like to cite the case of the famous Russian cellist Mstislav Rostropovich as an example of one way to influence a particular composer. In Rostropovich's day, the greatest living Soviet composers were Sergei Prokofiev and Dmitri Shostakovich. In 1949, Prokofiev wrote a cello sonata for the 22-year-old Rostropovich, and also dedicated his 1952 Sinfonia Concertante for cello and orchestra to him. Not surprisingly, Rostropovich hoped Shostakovich might write something for him too, and so he asked that composer's wife, Nina, how to approach him. She replied the best way was never to mention the idea in the presence of her husband. She knew Shostakovich was following Rostropovich's career with interest, and if the idea of writing something for the brilliant cellist came about as his own idea, rather than somebody else's, it stood a better chance of becoming reality. Rostropovich followed her advice, and, surprise, surprise, on today's date in 1959, gave the premiere with the Leningrad Philharmonic under Evgeny Mravinsky of a brand new cello concerto written for him by Dmitri Shostakovich, and 5 weeks later made his spectacular American debut, giving the concerto's U.S. premiere with Eugene Ormandy and the Philadelphia Orchestra. Composer's Datebook is produced by APM, American Public Media, in conjunction with the American Composers Forum, reminding you that all music was once new.
This is Across Our Wide Missouri with Bob Priddy.
When he got back to Potosi in March, he was a sick man, scarred from a panther attack, thin from a diet of berries and roots for much of his long trip. His breathing was labored because of the nights spent in the open, sleeping on damp ground, wearing clothes wet from fording rivers. He died without seeing his dreams fulfilled, but he paved the way for westward expansion of America. His dream of settling a foreign territory was carried on by his son, who would become known as the father of Texas. But surely if Stephen Austin is the father of Texas, Moses Austin must be the grandfather. We'll tell his story in a minute.
Today, about 1 in 5 Americans is living with a disability. Over 50 million people, including many of our friends and neighbors, teachers and co-workers, heroes and leaders. 20 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act guaranteed every person the right to live, work, and participate fully in the American experience. We've come a long way since then, and we are committed to making even more progress in the years ahead. Visit disability.gov to see how you can help.
Hey, what's up? Holla at ya, boy. XOXOXO. You getting these texts? Question mark. Where are you? What are you doing? OMG, you are making me mad. You better text me back. I'm waiting outside your house.
Relentless, aggressive texting is like sending an angry robot to deliver your message. When does the robot become dangerous? Let us know at that'snotcool.com.
That'snotcool.com.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Moses Austin was born in Connecticut and became a lead miner and pewter manufacturer in Richmond, Virginia. The lead deposits near St. Genevieve, Missouri, caught his eye when he visited the area in 1797. Austin talked the Spanish government, which then controlled the territory, into granting him a square league of land, including Mina Burton. He moved there with his family 2 years before the beginning of the 19th century and sank a shaft, built the first reverberatory melting furnace west of the Alleghenies, constructed a shot tower and a plant to make sheet lead, a sawmill, a flour mill, a store, and finally a home. In 1800, he made the first sheet lead and cannonballs manufactured in Missouri. By 1804, about 200 people lived in his village. In 1808, he and Samuel Hammond laid out Herculaneum as a lead shipping point and built towers on nearby bluffs to make lead shot. 5 years later, when Washington County was organized, Austin and John Rice Jones donated 50 acres for a county seat, Potosi. When foreign money markets collapsed, triggering a national panic in 1819, Austin lost his life savings. They'd been in the Bank of St. Louis, which he helped found in 1816, but it failed in the panic. He had heard the Spanish were interested in colonization of Texas, so he left Potosi on May the 1st of 1820 and made a trip to San Antonio to explore the chances of leading an expedition of Missourians into Spanish territory. At first, the Spanish governor refused Austin's plan, but an old friend of Austin's, the Baron de Bastrop, whom Austin had known in Louisiana, intervened on his behalf. Austin told the governor that the 300 new families that he wanted to bring to Texas would be peaceful people, they would be Catholic, and they would be former Spanish subjects before the Louisiana Purchase. Governor Martinez agreed to send Austin's petition to the Governor-General in Monterey, and with that much assured, Austin started home. He died 3 months after he got back to Potosi, in June of 1821. Just before he died, though, word came that the Governor-General had approved the idea of moving Missourians into Mexican territory. On his deathbed, Moses Austin told his wife he wanted his son Stephen to carry on. In December of 1821, Stephen Austin led the first group of Missouri settlers to Texas. Stephen died just 15 years later, but his leadership, based on a legacy from his father, earned for him the title Father of Texas. Lew Larkin, in his book Vanguard of Empire, wrote, "During his 24 years of residence in Missouri, Moses Austin may have added more to the wealth of this state than anyone else, with the possible exception of the larger fur dealers. He revolutionized the lead and smelting business to the point that lead recovery from ore went from 35% to 65%. He built sawmills and flour mills, roads and bridges, and constructed a furnace factory for shot and sheet lead. And yet he died penniless, and he left his son hardly more than a dream." The town in Texas named for Austin is named for his son, but the state of Texas realizes its debt to the father. In 1938, Texas tried to have the remains of Moses Austin taken to the state cemetery in Austin, where Stephen also is buried. But the people of Potosi and the people of Missouri refused. Moses Austin, the grandfather of Texas, born on this date, October 4th, 1761.
Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before.
Hey, what's up? Holla at ya, boy. XOXOXO. You getting these texts? Question mark. Where are you? What are you doing? OMG, you are making me mad. You better text me back. I'm waiting outside your house.
Relentless, aggressive texting is like sending an angry robot to deliver your message. When does the robot become dangerous? Let us know at that'snotcool.com.
That'snotcool.com.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Friday afternoon. And you're listening to First Cup. And still to come, we'll have Today in History in a few minutes, as well as the CBS World News Roundup, market information, The Friday Funnies and the Song of the Day all on the way. Right now it's time to get ready for celebrity birthdays.